Um, Hi, thank you. I welcome everyone who is in the participants, and thank you, Mentor Mitr, for having me for this session today. Emotional intelligence happens to be surprisingly one of those topics that all psychologists enjoy and love talking about, because ultimately, at the end of the day, one of our most important goals as a therapist is to establish emotional intelligence in individuals, so that all areas of their life, let it be the professional aspect, the personal aspect, family life, the dynamic you share with your life partner, everything, it's a all encompassing term basically. So now let's just get into what is emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is your capacity to so emotions are like tides. They come and they go. So how to surf on them and how to not drown in them. That is the art of emotional intelligence. So basically, if we were to, a lot of researches, if when we explore them, we find out that in the time that has gone by, we used to see that traditional IQ or the intelligence quotient, that is what we used to study. But now, as of late, since 1990s and 2000s, we've seen an emerging trend of research where we are witnessing people, scientists, psychologists, and a lot of professionals moving towards emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is that topic on which I've taken many trainings in some of the leading corporates in the country, and companies are investing on this topic. And the fact that we are discussing this at a formative stage of your careers, which is, it's a very brilliant concept. And it's not just the college phase where individuals benefit from it. It is something that it should be instilled in students who are school going, and it should be a part of the family environment, so that you can soak it in and you can become the best version of yourself. So to sum it up, emotional intelligence is basically your capacity to understand your emotions, manage your emotions, not control emotions. Now control is a very, I would say, it's a negative term. So instead of saying controlling emotions, you learn how to manage them and how to deal with them, how to not completely go with the flow of them and sink in them. And so that is the thing, when we don't have the capacity to have that awareness about, okay, this emotion is coming up to me, how do I deal with it, how do I successfully come out of it? When we don't have it, we go down, and we also take down our relationships, and also many times it affects our professional lives as well. Now how does it help our professional lives? Let me just give you an example. So let's just say there is a manager in a company, okay, and he has been training his intern. He loves the intern. He wants to select that intern for the executive position, and there's only one position open in the company, okay. So now this intern, he's performing very well, but suddenly something happens in his house, okay, and this intern stops performing very well. And now the person who was mentoring him starts getting frustrated that I groomed him, I nurtured him, I invested so much in him, how is he not doing well, how is he failing, why is this happening, and he starts putting more and more pressure on the intern to perform better and better. But in his perspective, he's only trying to give tough love, so that the intern starts performing better. But what happens is, this intern already is facing some pressure at home. He does not feel, and he does not obviously feel the comfort to open up to his manager about it, because he can only see that the manager is giving him a tough time. And then all these events eventually lead to the intern leaving the company and saying that I don't want the position altogether. Here we see that the intent of the manager was good, the intent of the intern was obviously good, and who doesn't want to have a good position in a company, right? But that lack of communication there, the lack on the manager's part, where he could not connect with the intern on a deeper emotional level, where he could not understand that the individual is going through distress or is going through something in his life that is affecting his day to day level of functioning, his lack of that observation. And you know taking up more, okay, the traditional ways of leadership and management was a more pressure based thing that we saw. But now it's gradually, companies are actually studying employee, the employee welfare, how the employees can basically have a good mindset, how to, how outcome, the productivity is enhanced if the employee is able to connect with the manager and is able to connect with the organization. So now we see that in this case study there is a loss on the for the intern as well as for the manager, because somewhere even the manager is let down. If the manager had been emotionally intelligent, he would have observed and noticed that okay, he is going through something, something is not usual. Okay, he would have realized that okay, this is not the time for me to react in a frustrated manner. I might be looking out for him, but this is not the situation to act out and try to control that intern and his actions. Okay, and the intern could have also been honest that okay, something is going on with me, please give me some time to cope up with it. It is actually many problems in our lives, if we were to sort it out, and if we were to do the root cause analysis of the problems, and if we can just basically break them down, it's often going to come down to these simple problems where we did not communicate our issues to the right person concerned, where the other person was also not observant enough to see that we were struggling with something. So these are very common issues, and I'm sure you guys must have seen those Facebook stories, those Instagram stories where the husband starts at home and he and his wife have a fight, and then he goes out, he ends up screaming at the person who sort of smit takraya, someone runs into him and he has an outburst. Then he goes to the office, he ends up screaming on his employee then eventually screams on his girlfriend, the girlfriend ends up screaming on someone else. So you see that vicious cycle. What is that? It is a lack of emotional intelligence. Had an emotionally intelligent person will have the ability to recognize, okay, now I'm going down the wrong track, events are not working out in my favor, I am feeling frustrated, what can I do to sort this on the spot right now? An emotionally intelligent person would, the first person who started the chain reaction of all these unfortunate events, he could have had a straight up dialogue with his wife and tried to sort it on the spot, on the point, so he could have saved the day of so many people from going wrong. But unfortunately there is a lack of emotional intelligence, and the culture somewhere it has favored traditional IQ, like traditional IQ is more the I think it's more of logical thinking, it's reasoning. Those of you who are preparing for competitive exams probably know that you have this section of logical reasoning and all these things. So traditional IQ is more of decoding patterns and visuospatial intelligence and all of these things that come about in it. Emotional intelligence and EQ, emotional quotient, is also very very important in today's time. We are we already have a lot of brilliant questionnaires and tests where we test out the emotional intelligence of people, and these tests are helping us in highlighting and understanding the unique strengths and the unique weaknesses of the individual, and they are allowing us to be better therapists, they are allowing us to be better guides for individuals who are working in corporates or in companies. And we're also training a lot of managers, a lot of senior members, and I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of leaders of various organizations. I see them carrying around books like Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman. I have seen them carrying around, a lot of brilliant books that are written on the subject. And, they're trying to study it and understand it, although they have a lot of knowledge. And I do feel that a fair degree of emotional intelligence is required to reach a certain place in life, you know. So, they already have it, but they're investing their precious time on understanding this concept. So it is brilliant that at we are witnessing this change where younger and younger people are beginning to go into this. So now we come to the next bit of it. So emotional intelligence, if we were to break it down, it comes to self-awareness and social awareness. It is two things. So it is basically four things actually. It also comes down to your ability to sort of regulate yourself in a social scenario, and your ability to sort of help others in regulating their own emotions, also being aware. So self-awareness, what is self-awareness? Now you guys must have read so many quotations. If you were to study if you were to read upon the life stories, the autobiographies of great people like APJ Abdul Kalam, or any great leader who was loved, who was a people's person, who is still remembered long after they're left, they're all people who've had a very strong self-awareness. You see them, like APJ Abdul Kalam, he was, I think he was a mentor to a lot of people throughout the country and even internationally. And he's had long phases of contemplation, just contemplation, reflecting upon his life, trying to understand where is he going, what has he done so far, and having that kind of an explorative mindset, constantly looking upon his emotions, looking upon his achievements, looking upon just the trajectory of his life. So that is self-awareness, your ability to be with yourself, to live with yourself, to sit down with yourself, identify that, okay, I'm strong here, I'm weak here, or I'm doing well here in this aspect, or I'm failing at this aspect, and accepting to yourself that, okay, if I am failing here, I have to sort of do my own SWOT analysis, strength, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, and then go ahead to figuring out how to resolve these challenges that I'm facing that are unique to myself. And that is self-awareness. So a self-aware individual ends chains of a lot of disastrous emotions in the society at a large. These are the people who are not offended easily. So for example, let me just give you a small example here. For self awareness, I would like to say that an individual who is put in a context, okay, if he's surrounded by a lot of negative people, is he's put in an environment where he's really critiqued, you know so in that environment, when people say things to him that you're this, you're that, you're XYZ, you are not a good human being, that person will have the capacity to separate his own self image, the way he looks at himself, versus what the people are saying. He understands that what people say is not a reflection of him, but it's a reflection of them and their own individual experiences, their own lifetimes. So that is a self-aware person for you. And I believe that all of us should foster self-awareness for the betterment of society at large. What is social awareness? So social awareness is the next bit of emotional intelligence. It's basically your capacity, again, going back to the revisiting the first case study that I discussed. It's that manager who couldn't identify that something is wrong with the intern. He couldn't ask, what's wrong, how can I help you? So it was as simple as that. So a socially aware person is the one, like, for example, once I was traveling by the metro, I take notice of my sometimes I don't take notice of my environment when I feel like I need some contemplation, and other times I do tend to notice the other people and their body language. And I noticed this individual who was looking very distressed, and this person looked like she was going to have a complete meltdown. And I just approached her and I asked, are you okay? And you would think that is creepy. I understand that some of you would feel that way, but this person almost had a breakdown. This person started crying to a stranger. Now you can imagine the degree of issues she must be facing, the mental health of this person, how vulnerable and fragile she was at that moment. And she ended up opening up to me and talking to me, okay, that this is going on, please never disclose my name. Okay, I would certainly not disclose the name. I'm not in touch with this person. I just told her that let's just remain strangers, let's just not try to be friends, because you found that comfort in opening up to me. So a socially aware person will have the capacity to notice who's under distress and how can they be helped. They'll be able to offer and extend that hand, that, okay, if you are in a mess, if you are in a pickle, let me help you out, let me at least be a good listener. So social awareness, I think the one of the most important skill sets in social awareness is your capacity to listen. It's the capacity to be a good listener. So why listening, you guys might think that, okay, why is she talking about listening, it's so basic. If you were to reflect, and if you were to honestly sit down the closest people in your lives, and you were going to ask them, do you think I'm a good listener? For the majority, I think the answer will be like 50-50. You're okay, not that great. Now why does that happen? Because we as human beings have a tendency of interpreting experiences, not understanding and contemplating and giving it time. We have a reactionary approach that, okay, you said this, I said this. One of the most difficult things that I see with people, one of the most upsetting thing that I see with people is a friend comes to you and shares a story that, okay, I've had such a bad day, like I'm facing certain financial issues, something is going down in my life, I'm upset, I'm it's just Murphy's law all the way, things are not working out for me. And the other person midway says ki, what have you seen? I've had the real problems in my life, I am the real survivor. If I can get over that, you can get over that. Now see, that is not listening. and that is not empathizing. Empathy is another key. If you're an empathetic individual, you'll automatically be a good listener. Otherwise, you're not a good listener. And another marker is, because today everyone's a multitasker. They're also texting someone, listening to someone, ordering in food. So I think the art of just sitting down and having a conversation is something that is lost, and that is taking a huge toll on us human beings, because we are social animals. We need validation. Validation becomes the third important thing. We Listening skills, empathy, and then validation. Your capacity to validate other people's experiences beyond your own experiences. So basically, no matter what your own experiences have been, you're able to separate that. When I am okay, like for example, us therapists, we're taught to empathize, not sympathize. We can't be like, oh, you've suffered so much, who are you? You don't do that. You try to put yourself in the person's shoes and look at their life through their eyes. For example, me as a human being, I might have a value system that, okay, my partner is not that important to me. Like my career, I'm a career oriented person. This is just a hypothetical example, you guys. So hypothetically speaking, okay, the partner is not important, and a friend comes to me and starts crying, oh, my partner is giving me a difficult time, and this person is really eating my head, and I feel like crying. I feel so much anxiety, and I am like, stop crying, get a job. So now that is not an empathetic response. I will drop who I am for that minute when I'm listening to the other person. uh, in therapy, this is what separates therapists from a common person, because we're trained in listening. So when we sit on that chair as a therapist, we're no longer Srishti, we're no longer XYZ therapist person. We are a blank slate, we are a clean mirror, or for where you get to reflect. And I think everyone should be a therapist, like not professionally, but everyone should have therapeutic skills, because mental health illnesses are on the rise. And if we were to uh, break it down, if each of us takes responsibility to be a better person, to provide the right validation to people, to be more supportive of other people in the language that the other person understands, if we're able to achieve just this much, maybe the statistics of rising depression and anxiety might go down. So for the society at large, when you're listening to someone, please drop your own individual identity and your own individual experiences. Please be a blank mirror and an empty slate for people, and reflect to them, validate them, listen to them. Never compare sufferings. All these things become a part of social awareness. So it's very essential, and it is very important part of emotional intelligence. And to be honest, like if you were to pay attention to the people to whom everyone goes to for advice, for solution, for talking to about difficult things in life, that person is actually very emotionally intelligent. They are good listeners, they are intuitive, they are understanding, they are nurturing, they are supportive, and they have all these qualities. And these qualities make them separate from the crowd, they make them different from the crowd. So these things become extremely important and extremely valid, valid in today's context and scenario, when we already feel. Again, this is one thing that I bring up in all of my seminars, workshops, and webinars, because I feel it is important. uh, in older times, there was a system of joint family where 50, 100,000, not 1,000, okay, probably 50, 100 people used to live together. And if you didn't connect with 90 people, you at least connected with 10 people. You had 10 people to go to at the end of the day. you know your life was filled with so many people, so many meaningful relationships, that all the ups and downs in life, you were able to triumph over it, you were able to surpass it in a more healthier manner. In today's time, we feel separate from our families. There are family issues, there are parental issues. We feel disconnected from our family, then we try to seek a family outside our own family of origin, our biological family. We try to find friends beyond our biological family. And you know and unfortunately, patterns repeat. That is the reality of life. Whatever pattern you see with your parents, whatever patterns you see at home, you might end up seeing that same pattern in your friends. Or the same things will irk you. Like for example, if you have a parent who's very dominating, when you like slowly, if you were to notice the problematic patterns in your friendships and your relationships, you'll see that your partner is dominating, or you're attracting dominating people in your life because somewhere something is not healed. That self-awareness is not there, that okay, I'm carrying this pain from my childhood, or I'm carrying this pain from my family patterns. So I think I've gone a little too deep, perhaps, but that is just to build that sort of self awareness and try to show you how one ultimately develops self awareness and social awareness. So only a self aware person can become socially aware. Why is that so? Till you don't identify your own emotions, you will never be able to identify the other emotions. There's a very common coping mechanism called projection. What is projection? It is basically like whatever is wrong with me, I see out in the world. They say ki, uh, a good person is more likely to be fooled because they trust everyone. Or someone who has a mindset of consumption, like let me make best use of this person, they will always think that everyone is out to use them. So there's this story from childhood. I don't know if you guys remember or not. There was this dog who was stuck in this mirror room where there were like mirrors reflecting back to him. So when he started growling, thousands of dogs started growling back at him. When he sat down and calm and he was okay, then all the dogs sat down silently. That is basically how the world works. How your worldview is, how you look at things and how you look at people, how you look at relationships, how you look at dynamics, that will be exactly what you find out in the world. And now if you say that no, the world has been unfair to me, you need more self awareness, you need more self work. And trust me, I know it is not easy. I know self awareness comes with a lot of pain. You're always, individuals who are self aware, they can feel each emotion flicking within them. They can sense everything. They can sense emotions, their own emotions, and then eventually this also start sensing other people's emotions. So when we hear the word empath a lot, what are empaths? They're just highly emotionally intelligent people, I feel. you know so that is what emotional intelligence is, that is what self awareness is, that is what social awareness is. And then we come to self regulation, tips and tricks, mindfulness, etc. So now what do we do with all these abstract concepts? I hope it made sense and it was like crisp and precise, and you could get some concluding points from everything that I discussed so far. Self regulation is your ability to regulate your emotions. They say control your emotions. I don't agree with the terminology. To again surf on the tides of emotions, basically. So we see a lot of individuals struggling with the with emotions. With there are some people who are running away from emotions. There are some people who have dived too deep and don't know how to come out there, and we have seen a lot of people running away from emotions. And then those emotions store in your body, and eventually it comes out as some sort of a illness. It comes out also, it is correlated with physiological issues somewhere. If you're not dealing with your emotions, you're not accepting with the emotional experiences of your life, it will ultimately culminate to lifestyle disease like diabetes, like blood pressure related issues. Heart attack is also linked to, it is all linked to stress. Now what is stress? It's your body storing the negative emotions. That is what stress is. Because your body has a system designed internally, and if you're not aware of how it is working for you, it will work against you. So develop that self awareness. You will become better at regulating your own emotions somewhere or the other. And you will start taking things way less personally. No matter where you go, what happens, you won't take things personally at all when once you are self aware and you're in touch with your core values and your core emotions. Another way of, I think, self regulation, I think, is identifying your core values as well. Because okay, like for example, for me, uh, when I say me, it's not me, the person, is just me giving an example, hypothetically speaking. Family is the most important value to me, and service is the most important value to me. Okay, so I value family, I value the emotion of service. So whenever I'm stuck in a difficult situation in my life, I can quickly call upon my value systems. Okay, what is my priority? Family. My priority is also service. So I can combine these two, and no matter what the situation may be, I'm able to act in alignment with those value systems. So basically, I'm able to act in a way where I am serving my family or I'm serving other people at large. So that becomes it makes decision making very clear, very easy. It simplifies life, and it is just something that you should do. Sit down with yourself, think about what is most important to me in my life. Is it doing social work? Is it service? Is it making peace in the world, or is it being an artist, or just identifying your okay, these are your values are also the certain beliefs you hold about yourself. So for self, now this is again, I am the kind of a psychologist who believes in root cause analysis. So I will not be, the superficial tips of any superficial tip. I don't think I can, promote it. I would say go really deep, dive really deep, like de-layer all the years you've existed as a human being. Go over the most painful experiences. Ask yourself whether I have successfully resolved it or not. If you've not successfully resolved over it, it will pile up and it will blast one day. That is what happens with people. That is what emotional breakdowns are, you know so evaluate your values, evaluate your belief systems, check your worldview as well, how you look at the world and what are the experiences reflecting back to you. And then we also obviously come back to the basic physiological strength. So your brain is wired in a certain way. You need the right amount of dopamine, you need the right amount of serotonin, these neuro chemicals in your brain. You need to balance them out, and you need certain activities in your life to keep that sense of emotional balance. So exercise, then meditation. All I'm really sorry if you don't want to hear this, but it is a matter of fact. These are not something that are a part of popular culture. It is something that is researched and established. So these are the basic buildings. You can't have a plant without soil or without watering it and without sunlight, right? So we are cut off from what is water to us, what is soil to us, and what is sunlight to us, because of the lifestyle that we have. So having a very proper lifestyle, apart from that, if your sleep wake cycle is not proper, somewhere your emotions tend to suffer. You are more susceptible to stress, you're more susceptible to negative emotions if you are not getting the right amount of sleep. So that becomes very important. Your sleep wake cycle and just that healthy approach to it becomes very, very important. Apart from that, I've also mentioned mindfulness. Now, what is mindfulness? So you guys can also check it out. There are these guided vipassana. I don't know how the exact pronunciation of it. It is Vipassana is actually a very beautiful experience which I'm yet to experience, to be honest, but I am thinking about it. It is where for 11 days you don't talk to anyone. Your phone is taken from you, your device is taken from you, you're away from family, you're in a meditation center, and you meditate like 10 hours, 12 hours a day. And in the course of these 11, 12 days, you're not allowed to make even eye contact with other people. So it is a very intense experience. So to experience like a shortened version of it, you can actually look it up on YouTube, and there are guided vipassana meditations for 1 hour, for 15 minutes, for 20 minutes. And what actually happens is mindfulness meditations. Vipassana is, I think, it's not directly correlated to mindfulness, but it reminded me of that, so I just thought I'll give you that suggestion. So, mindfulness meditation is basically being completely self aware, being in touch with your body and staying grounded in your body. It is being able to regulate your breathing pattern. The moment you're stressed, your muscles start feeling tight. Your breathing gets restricted. You need more oxygen. When you're stressed out. So, mindfulness is just breathing deeply, connecting back with your senses, gaining a control of your senses, and just focusing on on the environment and the stimulus, and reconnecting and grounding in your body. So mindfulness based practices are highly evidence based methods of relief from even anxiety, and even for managing and handling your emotions, because emotions are fragile and they're fickle. It is they are associated with the monkey mind. And what does the monkey mind do? It's a loop between past, present, and future. You're sitting in your classroom, and then you start thinking, okay, oh my god, look at that girl, she reminds me of my ex. And I'm just giving you a hypothetical example again, because I assume there's a lot of young audience here. And then you start going back to 3 4 5 years down the years ago, where you dated this person, and you start feeling horrible again. So now that is anti mindfulness. Why do you allow your thoughts to flow till that degree? Or even if your thoughts have flown to that degree, why to have such a strong emotional response to it? Meditation and mindfulness eventually help you breaking that link of your thoughts and your strong emotional response. If you're a master meditator, you will be able to, I mean, I'm not saying you'll stop having emotions. No one can do that. Humanly impossible. But you will stop having emotions. You will stop having emotions that feel out of your control. So these were just